Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Great. Okay. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, November 25th, 2025 regular business meeting of the Olympia City Council. For the record, we have a quorum with all council members present tonight. So before we move on to adopting our agenda, I just want to mention the fact that there has been quite a few accidents involving automobiles lately in our community. And with the holiday season coming up, I just want to stress the importance of vehicular safety and traffic and pedestrian safety in general, particularly as we approach the holiday seasons. Our roads will be very busy, and there'll be lots of our community members traveling to their loved ones, both family and friends alike. And so I can't stress enough the importance of being safe, whether you're walking, biking, driving, however you're commuting, to get to where you need to. Please do so safely. So with that, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have an agenda. All right, so we do not have any special recognition on our agenda tonight, so we are going to go ahead and move right into public comment. And I do believe we have some folks that are signed up for public comment. Moment. I do just want to mention and remind everyone that you have 2 minutes for your comments. If you have not spoken before, you'll hear a ding sound at about 30 seconds, with about 30 seconds remaining in your comments, but feel free to wrap up your sentence. And we're going to begin with our first public commenter, William Cotter.
Thank you. Just to make sure, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Good evening. My name is Bill Cotter. I'm a responsible AI expert, and I'm a former Department of Homeland Security employee. Tonight, I want to tell you briefly what Flock's technology actually does. The cameras that Flock has installed throughout Olympia are typically referred to as automated license plate readers. But based on Flock's patents for the camera and their technology infrastructure, that's not really an accurate description of what they do. The patents describe using neural networks that are trained to identify, and I'm quoting from the patents here, classes of people, male, female, race, etc. The patents also detail algorithms that are designed to gauge a pedestrian's height, weight, and specific clothing types. Note that they're talking in the patents about pedestrians, not drivers. Flock is actually admitting in their patents that they're capable of capturing data from anyone on the street at any time. The patents also describe a feature that Flock calls object-based query, which would let users of Flock's nationwide network search by physical description, gender, race, etc. Essentially a Google search for people across the Flock network. As an expert in AI, let me really clearly tell you that this is not license plate monitoring technology. This is a company that's operating a nationwide automated biometric and racial profiling system, and it turns every sidewalk in Olympia where there's a camera into a police lineup. I also want to touch briefly on who the city is actually doing business with. 2 months ago in an interview, Flock CEO Garrett Langley called privacy advocates that are concerned about Flock cameras terrorists. The man controlling the surveillance grid in our city thinks that anyone who questions his technology is a terrorist. So those of you on the city council who noted last week that you had reservations about Flock or that your views may be changing about Flock, as far as Flock is concerned, you may be considered a terrorist as well. Welcome, you're in good company with the rest of us that are concerned. As an AI expert, I can tell you that when you build an AI-powered database of gendered movements or racial movements, you're building a weapon that can be used to harm people. The city council can't claim to protect residents while the city is actually using a system that's trained to profile both you and your constituents. This technology violates our civil liberties, and I'm calling on the city council to vote tonight to end the contract with Flock, remove the cameras, and then pass an ordinance that bans this type of technology from being used by the city ever again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have Courtney Seacal. And if I'm mispronouncing her name, please correct me.
Thank you. No, that was great. CCal's great. All right, I'll jump in. Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Courtney Seacal, and I'm a resident of Olympia. And I'm asking you to do three things: end the contract, remove the cameras, and adopt protection so that this never happens again. Under RCW 1093-160 and Olympia sanctuary commitments, city employees cannot share information with ICE without a judicial warrant. But by collecting and storing license plate data, which is exactly the type of information federal agencies routinely subpoena, the city is creating a data set that directly conflicts with these protections. We also know that these databases, including Flock systems, have been breached or improperly accessed across the country. This is not hypothetical, it is happening. Flock also collects infrared race and gender information, which means protected class data and the movement of people from protected classes. It's already being stored in a system that is proven to be vulnerable. Washington's My Health, My Data Act, RCW 19373, sharply restricts collecting or sharing location data that may be tied to reproductive or gender-affirming healthcare without clear notice and consent. Yet Flock cameras track travel to hospitals, clinics, pharmacies, and specialist providers with no warning to residences. That places Olympia out of compliance. Our reproductive policy protections, RCW 902, and the SHIELD law prohibit aiding out-of-state investigations into protected healthcare. Location surveillance can reveal exactly the information these laws are meant to shield. And we cannot ignore the national context. When those in power began testing how far they can go, a city-run surveillance system becomes a liability. Choosing to keep it for the sake of policing convenience is astonishing when the stakes are people's health, safety, freedom, and civil rights. This risk is too great for our community to carry. And frankly, there's now substantial evidence that you're all aware of these many violations for when litigation eventually does follow. I urge you to remove the cameras, end the contract, and create permanent safeguards for our community. Thank you.
You. Next, we have Paris Lamoureux.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I am asking you to get Flock out of Olympia. This is because federal immigration enforcement agencies access Washington police cameras in 31 cities with or without permission from the police departments. The Keep Washington Working Act bans local cops from assisting immigration enforcement, yet federal agents still slip in through side doors. No warrant is needed to access Flock's unregulated surveillance data. There is no independent research. The Flock cameras reduce crime. And also, history shows us that when governments or other groups get unchecked surveillance powers, they eventually use them against ordinary people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Emma Lucy Mueller. Okay. I'll see if we can circle back to her at the end. Next, we have Apollo Husseini.
Howdy there.
Hello.
So my name's Apollo. I've been a resident here in Olympia for quite a while. I live right around the Lacey border there. And I tell you that flock cameras are one of the worst decisions you could add to our area. A lot of other Washington state cities would agree with me, such as Linwood, who took theirs down. Privacy is a very big concern to many people, and even to the people who do not find the concern in it, should likely understand the necessity. Many people are being watched every day, and this is starting to impact mental health of many people in ways that you may not even factor in. There's this thing called zoochosis. It's very widely studied in animals in zoos. That same thing is going to happen to all of us should you continue to increase surveillances all throughout our nation. So I highly recommend that all of you council members really strongly consider how much of a negative this is and how much graver the consequences should be than the positives will be. These sorts of things are not something to simply play around with. There are no studies that they are going to truly fix any of our issues with these flock cameras. However, there are studies that this is going to be detrimental in many ways that I'm sure you've already been told. So I highly recommend that you take all of our public comments into consideration here and realize that many of us are trying to think for the longevity of the health of the future of our society with this. Thank you.
Thank you. And I am just going to go back one more time to see if Emma Lucy Mueller is signed in yet. Okay. I am going to then move on to we have a couple public commenters who are present in chambers, beginning with Greg Griffith.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi, Greg.
Okay, great, thank you. So thank you, Mayor Payne and City Council members. My name is Greg Griffith, and I'm president of the Olympia Historical Society and Bigelow House Museum. This being Thanksgiving week, I am here tonight to thank the City of Olympia for being a very active partner with us in implementing our public event on November 8th titled Preserving a Living Memorial to Our Veterans. I will start by thanking Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen for providing a welcome to our audience and making remarks about the historic significance of the Legion Way trees and the city's commitment to preserve its integrity. I also want to thank city staff members who played a key role in helping to plan and implement this event. First of all, Armory Building Manager Valerie Roberts gave a great presentation about the Armory's history and insights about the planned rehabilitation and future uses of the building. Heritage Commission staff member Brittany Gillia served as liaison between the Heritage Commission and our Planning Committee, plus she was present at the event along with Heritage Commissioner Gary Stedman, himself a veteran, to staff their display table. A key element of our program was a brief ceremony to replant a red oak sapling in the space where one of the historic oaks collapsed back in April. OPARD arborist Bruce Moulton embraced the department's role in the event by securing 2 tall and straight red oaks for replanting and made sure the site was prepared to receive the tree during the ceremony. Special thanks also go to Bruce's assistant Eric Reevesman, who spoke movingly about the occasion as he placed, planted, and watered the tree, and as Eric worked, Iraq War veteran Jake Daly passionately drove home the meaning of preserving the Legion Way trees as a history lesson for all of us to be proactive in working for lasting peace. In addition to thanking Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen and city staff, I want to also recognize former City Council member Stephen Langer for his work while on council to plan a similar event in 2010 to share Legion Way's history and the need to be proactive in its preservation and maintenance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have David Webb.
Hello. Love your Zoom backgrounds. David Webb, Olympia. I'm here about two things. First and foremost, deceptive crisis pregnancy centers. Why does the city allow them? We have Options Pregnancy, a local place that tricks, shames people into not considering their own self-interest in medical decisions. It's operated by people from Harbor Church who are known to picket and harass women at Planned Parenthood, and this is something that should bother a city that cares about people. These deceptive practices target people who learned English as a second or third language, do not have health care, and are predatory, problematic, and systematically harmful. Please start caring. Secondly, flock. I'm seeing the way some of you talk, the way you address or discuss issues that are contentious. I'm here to ask that during the info session, you ask questions to learn about flock, how it operates, and confirm the concerns expressed by many residents here last week and earlier this meeting. I'm here to ask that you prioritize the safety of our constituents, all of them, not just the wealthy white ones, and recognize the risk and harm to many different communities that you claim to care about. I ask that you don't weaponize your light poles against your immigrant constituents. You have faith in OPD, right? Then let them do their job without helping the feds implement a surveillance state. I'm from Massachusetts and proud to say that Boston just banned AI facial recognition. You don't have to go that far, but it's beyond time to tell the feds to get the flock out of Olympia. Let's be on the right side of history. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, well, that concludes, I just want to confirm with staff that that is the conclusion of the list that I have. And I also just want to make sure that we circle back and check in with Emma Lucy Mueller one more time.
Mayor, there is no one else signed in chambers, and Emily is not signed in either.
All right, thank you very much. So that concludes our public comment for tonight. Thank you for those who showed up in person in chambers for your comments, but also who testified remotely tonight. We appreciate that. Are there any comments from the council? I'll give it a moment to see if there's some raise hand functions. It's been a while since we've had to do it this way. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
I know, this is like the early days of my council service anyways. Yeah, I don't have too much to say for the folks that have, the majority of folks that have showed up for flock. I think that some of these are, actually maybe all of them are repeat commenters, so just appreciate your continued advocacy for this really important issue. And I think you all know that on December 2nd, the City Council will be taking this up at a study session. And so just encourage folks to tune in for that, and appreciate the comments that were made. And then also some of you emailed in comments that were that definitely gave me something to think about as far as what to ask during that study session and what types of information to dig into as it pertains to flock. Also just wanted to recognize the comments about deceptive pregnancy clinics, I believe it was. So we as a city council did pass a resolution to be a sanctuary city. So it would have been probably a couple of years now for reproductive rights. And so one of the things, I don't have it before me, so I don't have it memorized to share with you, but one of the things on that resolution was looking into making sure that folks basically that we could address to whatever our ability as a city council or a city organization some of those deceptive practices. And one of those things I remember was signage, and making sure that people didn't say, for instance, on their signage that they offered pregnancy termination services, if so that wasn't true. So thank you for bringing that up, and something that I'm committed to taking back and just looking into with staff. And so for that particular clinic, and then also for others that might be out there. And then also just a quick note to Greg, if you're still listening or still in the physical Chambers, just really, really appreciate you coming and acknowledging the many hands that went into that really lovely event, which is the Legion Way Memorial. And also, as much as you're lifting up City of Olympia people, right, staff, it's also a huge undertaking by the Olympia Historical Society and Bigelow House Museum, of which you lead. So really, really lovely event. I was actually just talking to Valerie Roberts, the Armory Building Manager, at a city event, I think last week. And at the end of the program, it was a long program, a long, very thoughtful program that day. But at the end of the program, folks that participated in the event got an opportunity to go and walk over to the Armory with Valerie and see the new signage there. And we were both impressed at how many people went and actually viewed the signage at the end of a long event and stayed there. I mean, they used to stay there for like 20 minutes, asking questions, talking back and forth. And at some point I was like, okay, I think I have to leave actually. This is all very interesting. But my point is, you had such an engaged group of people, and even having the military band there, it was just a really, really lovely event overall. So well thought out. And when organizations like yours, like OHS, BHM, create these opportunities for the community to engage with our own heritage or of those before us, it's such a gift. It's such a gift to our community. So thank you so much for all of your work as well.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I appreciate the comment this evening, and I wanted to elevate David Webb's comment that we might use the study session next week to confirm questions and comments that have come from community members, because in my understanding, what we're primarily going to hear from Olympia Police Department about their implementation and the value that they've obtained from Flock next Tuesday. And I believe that's almost an entirely separate conversation from the privacy, civil rights, and dangers of the federal government reaching into the data concerns that people are raising. So I hope that we'll also create an opportunity to have a discussion about the concerns that community members have been raising. So I'm glad to hear from Olympia Police Department, and Councilmember Cooper and I this afternoon had a walkthrough of the Flock and the Axum body camera systems and learned more in detail about how they're operated. But I just want to appreciate David Webb's comment and highlight that these concerns are not concerns that Olympia Police Department has expertise in, or that we're set up to have a conversation about next Tuesday. But I want us to make sure and create space for that conversation.
Thank you, Councilmember Gilman. City Manager Bernie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to Councilmember Gilman's question, I did talk with the chief this week. She's been tracking all the questions that are coming in. She's going to do her best to try to get at some of the questions that we're hearing from the community and provide some responses to those questions through her presentation.
Thank you. Any additional comments from council? Okay. Well, again, just thank you all again for raising this issue, coming back to public comment. Just one more time for the record that next Tuesday, December 2nd at 6 p.m., there will be a study session related to Flock cameras. Just please keep in mind that a study session is an exchange of information and Q&A between the city council and staff. There isn't an opportunity for the public to comment. So if you have thoughts that you would like to share with the council and staff, please feel free to do so via email. And I also just wanted to briefly touch upon the issue related to options, the pregnancy clinic in Olympia. My understanding is I can recall that this very issue came up actually by council members. We discussed this when we were talking about um, doing the resolution, the sanctuary city resolution for reproductive rights. My understanding, and maybe this is a question that we can discuss later with the city attorney, but my understanding is that they have a right to operate within the city limits, similar to like any other business. So similar to like the fact that there's a Chick-fil-A opening in Olympia, and that's not because of anything that has to do with the city of Olympia. You don't want politicians making these kinds of decisions around what organizations can operate within the city based on political stances. So that's my understanding, is that why a place like Options is permitted to operate within the city, is that we quite literally don't have any legal power over that kind of thing. Would love to hear if I'm wrong about that, but that's my understanding of it. Yeah, City Manager Bernie.
Mr. Mayor, I took this note of this question, and what I will do with it is I'll circle up with Mark and code enforcement and make sure that we're enforcing to the level that our sanctuary city resolution states, which is around signage and deceptive practices. So we will look into this one, and I'll circle back with all of you on a response.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Councilmember Madrone.
Yeah, I was just putting my hand down because I was going to say something similar to Jay, that I don't think it was about stopping somebody who's operating a legitimate organization or business within the community, but rather signage into the authenticity of the services they provide, you know, what it is they provide and what they don't provide, so that people get a fair warning going in.
Understood. Okay. Well, thanks for that clarification. And either way, my point still stands. Even for those who are upset about the Chick-fil-A, that is the case. So, are there any other comments? Okay, seeing none. So that concludes public comment for tonight. We are going to go ahead and move on to the adoption of the consent calendar. And with that, I need a motion to adopt tonight's consent calendar.
To adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any requests for polls for questions or comments on the consent calendar? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the consent calendar as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent calendar is adopted. So that takes us to our only business item that we have tonight, which is our 2026 budget balancing. And we have our city manager, Jay Bernie, kicking us off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to share my screen here. There, can everyone see that okay? All right. Well, good evening, Mayor, council members. Again, for the record, Jay Bernie, City Manager. I am here tonight to seek your approval of the final 2026 operating budget. The slides I'm going to share are a little different than what we sent to you on Friday, as I've worked over the weekend to fine tune the presentation and make sure I had everything in the right place for this discussion this evening. This budget, as the council knows, has been a work of the council, the city manager, and our department directors for the majority of the year. We began our discussions around budget sustainability and the 2026 budget at your January retreat, had follow-up discussions at your mid-year retreat, and have added some extra study sessions and updates along the way. These discussions have not been easy. The budget that I will present for your approval includes some new revenues and reductions. Neither of those decisions were made without careful, thoughtful discussion. I want to thank the council and the department directors for all of their work to get us to this point. And to all of our employees, I want to acknowledge that this has been a difficult time over the past couple budgets. But with the decisions made this year, we are on a path to better budget sustainability. Everything I'm going to show the council tonight is a review of items that you have seen several times over the past month and a half. There are no new changes or updates tonight, so I'm going to move through the slides fairly quickly, pausing along the way for any questions. Last week, the Finance Committee approved the final recommendations that I am presenting this evening. I also want to mention that the majority of the directors are online and available to assist with any questions that may come up through this presentation. As was mentioned last week, the council approved 2 new revenue options that we'll utilize to balance the 2026 budget. You approved on November 18th a new sales and use tax increase. This is a councilmanic public safety sales tax authorized by House Bill 2015. It brings in an estimated $3 million in revenue beginning in 2027. We're estimating about a half year's worth this year, about 1.5 million. And we've sought council's approval to use some real estate excise tax one time only to close the gap for 2026 until we can get a full year's collection. The other revenue approved by council is an increase to business and occupation tax. All categories went to 2/10 rate except for retail, which went to 0.0015. You also raised the threshold for reporting to $500,000. It's estimated that new revenue in 2026 will be about $1.8 million, and we believe we can start collecting that January 1st. Included in your budget is a 2.7 wage adjustment for independents and the unions that we've settled with. We've applied all the health insurance rates, the workers' compensation rates, liability insurance rates are all up to date with the numbers that have been provided to us by the providers. And we also have, as I mentioned previously, an additional $1.3 million in added support to the development fee fund. As I talked about in the study session in October, development is down. Interest rates are still up. Development is slow at the moment. We hope that will pick up in the coming year, but we need to offset the development fee fund by a little bit more than we normally do. In this case, an extra $1.3 million for next year, and then we'll reevaluate as we get into 2027. We have several budget enhancements or additions included in this budget. Some of them add new ongoing expenses to the general fund, and some of them are what we call budget neutral, as they're supported by other revenues. None of these additions are new, and all of them have been previously discussed with the council. In terms of new ongoing general fund impacts, we've included the cost of bunker gear replacement on an annual basis. We're accounting for increased jail costs that we've experienced over the last couple of years. We have funding here to explore and add an emergency manager. As I mentioned previously, we're exploring a partnership, perhaps with Tumwater or the county around that. The council has approved continued funding for the Olympia Downtown Alliance Guide Expansion Program. We have funding for the home energy score for Olympia's portion, for the flower baskets downtown, and some ongoing money for Olympia Strong implementation. Any questions on this batch of additions before I go into the revenue neutral?
I'm seeing none, Jay.
Okay. This next batch are all what we call neutral enhancements because they are offset by some other revenue stream or savings. We have funding for an additional firefighter that's offset by savings in overtime. We've got a climate resilience coordinator that is supported by grants and supports from other jurisdictions. We also have grant support for our safe housing and rental efficiency program. And we've got funding that is grant funded and support from other jurisdictions for a climate energized fellow. We have funding for the Energize Olympia marketing and outreach that is grant funded. Olympia Sea Level Rise Collaborative has support from other jurisdictions that we manage. And again, as we discussed in your last update, support for rental registry, an additional 1.5 FTE that will be offset by rental registry revenue. That, and then the last one, again, we've talked about this several times. We've also funded a sidewalk repair team through the TBD sales tax. So any questions on additions to the budget?
Seeing none.
This budget also includes reductions in staffing across departments and programs, including reductions in communications, city manager's office, the legal department, economic development, familiar faces in our police department, the climate program. It includes the elimination of a federal lobbyist contract, and then we have a principal planner in CPED that will be retiring about 3 months into the year. In total, 8 positions are eliminated to aid in balancing the 2026 budget. I want to comment, I know the council feels the same way, that although any level of reduction is difficult, I am confident that our department directors and our employees will continue to move our community and our council priorities forward. We will work through the impacts as part of the council work plan and discussion at your upcoming retreat. Any questions on reductions? Not seeing any. The rest of these slides are, again, they're for review. For utility rates, the combined recommendations represent a 3.74 increase or $12.04 on your bi-monthly bill. I do want to commend our utilities team for a really great job. They kept this increase pretty close to where we are with CPI over the past year. They did a really good job to try to keep rates down. All of these rates are recommended and supported by the Utility Advisory Committee. We have proposed additions to our general facilities charges and lot capacity development charges. They're all shown here. These are paid by development projects to fund capital projects needed to accommodate expanded services for the utilities to serve added customers over time. These increases are also supported by the Utility Advisory Committee. Any questions here?
We have one. Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. So Jay, there was an article in the paper this weekend about a neighboring city that's gotten really far behind on their replacement schedule for their radio communicating water meters. Can you talk a little bit, or can one of staff talk a little bit about how we manage that just financially?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any staff here that can talk directly to it, but our automated readers are funded through utility rates, and there is an ongoing replacement program for them that is funded by rates. So we do keep up with them. We replace them as needed. We have staff that do that work, but we do have a funding program in place that's paid for through ratepayers.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. And the one thing I did notice from what I was able to glean from that other story is ours are about 10 years newer than the ones in the neighboring city that are failing. So that's why I just wanted to make sure that we already had a replacement schedule in place. So thank you very much.
That is correct. You bet. Good question. Okay, I'm going to keep you moving. Proposed development fee adjustments includes a 2.7% increase for all permit fees to account for labor costs, new planning fee for staff for minor variance applications at $1,000. We're moving fire inspection fees from one chapter to another, in this case from Chapter 16 to Title 4. And we're increasing fire inspection permits from $39 to $85, and then we'll annually adjust per labor costs. We haven't had an adjustment to our fire inspection fees in some time. In terms of impact fees, transportation is proposed as a 10% increase at a rate of $3,672 per trip. That 10% increase is due to increase the cost of labor, construction materials, and real property. This table shows the impact fee breakdown by select land use types. Proposed parks impact fees are increasing by 2.9%, and you can again see the increase by land use types here in categories. The North Thurston proposed changes to their impact fees are here. For single family, they are going down, and for multifamily, they're proposed to go down. As previously discussed, Olympia School District is not proposing any impact fee increases or adjustments based on their enrollment forecast at this time. Parking citation fees are proposed to increase in 2026. Adjusting these fees will help balance revenues and expenses, reduce reliance on the general fund, ensure a financially sustainable parking system, and encourage positive behavior by motivating users to pay the appropriate fee and time to avoid citations. You previously discussed the lodging tax advisory committee recommendations. These are included here. We do not have any proposed parking and business improvement area revenues. As council is aware, we are working with the PBIA over the coming year on a new pathway forward. That is it for the 2026 operating budget. With your approval of the city manager and finance committee recommendations, the enabling ordinances will be before the city council on December 9th for formal approval. Before I turn it over to the council for any questions or a motion, we did get one community question at the finance committee last week around the park's 11% calculation. The question raised was around including some private utility taxes as part of that 11% calculation and whether that should or should not have been part of that calculation. I did ask the finance committee to look into this issue in detail, and I will invite Finance Director Mike Givens forward to respond to that question.
Thank you. For the record, Finance Director Mike Githens. As City Manager Bernie mentioned, we did receive this question. I spent a good amount of time conducting research with various sources. I'm confident that the calculation has been consistently applied for the past 10 years. As a point of review, prior to the ILA or interlocal agreement, the 0.5% of non-voted utility tax, and often we abbreviate this to NVUT in our budget documents and finance documents. That 0.5% had been going to parks from 1997 to 2015. That was the point in time when the OMPD, Olympia Metropolitan Park District, was formed. That amount then became part of the formula. So when calculating the parks portion of the general fund for the interlocal agreement, the 0.5% was included because it was dedicated to parks. Including this resulted in the parks portion being summed up to calculate that 11% we often refer to. So it is already included and has been. We went back and checked this through long-lived documents. City Manager Bernie and I talked with a former Parks, Arts, and Recreation Director. I worked with finance managers who have some long-lived history going back to a few finance directors ago, and to look at the consistency of our application of this in budgets and documents. So since the ILA was enacted, the city has consistently calculated this 11%, with the exception of an inadvertent error in 2017 when the B&O admission tax was left out. Finance corrected that oversight by returning those funds to parks. So we've confirmed the consistency by checking documents and talking with staff. Certainly welcome that if parks advocates want to discuss this further, I can meet with them along with Parks, Arts, and Recreation Director Silvana Niehuser. Thank you.
Any questions on that response from Mike? All right, Mike, I want to thank you and your team for digging in on that one. It's the one lone question that came up during the public hearings and the conversation, so I wanted to make sure we had a good answer for the community member that brought it. So with that, I'm happy to answer any remaining questions from the council or entertain a motion. I also will ask the Finance Committee Chair if he has anything to offer.
Just as I said last week at the meeting, just appreciation for the finance staff and the council members who've given this budget a lot of touches across the year. And I'm proud that we were able to make the recommendation to approve this, and looking forward to wrapping this up in 2 more meetings.
Thank you, Councilmember Gilman, Chair Gilman. Any other comments or questions for the city manager? Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Jay, and thank you, Mike. And thank you to our finance committee for digging in. For those of you who might be tuning into this meeting, as you can see, this is a final budget balancing presentation. So we've been at it for quite a few months now. So that's why you've seen minimal questions here tonight related to all of this. But I have to stress the just the amazing response to our gap this year that I've seen, and thanks to our city's staff and the city's leadership that came up with creative solutions on how to do this. And I will just say, you know, it's not an ideal, and you've heard us talk about this in previous conversations, it's not ideal to have to tax the community. But we are also taking $1.2 million in reductions, as you've just seen. And the reason that this is all happening is because we wanted to listen to the voices of the community who still told us that despite our budget deficit, we still have priorities and things that we care about as a community that we don't want to see drawn back, reduced, or cut altogether. And so we listen to that, and we are doing the best we can to continue those services, providing all of those services, and at the same time with an understanding that this isn't an ideal solution to having to close our gap, but our state continues to give us, you know, unfortunately, very limited tools in order to address our revenue shortage. And so with that being said, I want to thank our community for those of you who did show up or who did send emails related to the budget. We appreciate your input, and we appreciate the community's input, whether it was this year or a couple years ago through a community-wide survey, expressing your interest in what you care about, and that helps drive what we do going forward. So thank you to everybody involved who's gotten us to this point with this year's budget. It's much appreciated. And we'll see it 2 more times. Any additional questions or comments? All right, do we have a motion? Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I would move to approve the city manager and finance committee recommendation for the final 2026 preliminary operating budget, utility rates and fees, special dedicated funds, and capital budget, and direct staff to prepare ordinances for council's consideration on December 9th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Bernie. All right, so that concludes our business for tonight. So we're going to go ahead and move on to council reports. I have a very brief mayor's report, which is thank you, everybody, for all of your work up until this point. And I hope you have a happy, safe, and happy Thanksgiving and an Indigenous Peoples Day this week. And I will start, I'm trying to think of the dais. I will start with Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I have nothing to report.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I just want to give a shout out to two of my fellow council members and an incoming council member who had the opportunity to be up on stage with them today, swearing in for our terms that start on January 1st. So just want to congratulate council members Gilman and Vanderpool and incoming council member Barrett, and really looking forward to the coming work. And that is all I have to report.
Thank you. Yes, congratulations to you all. Again, still a little strange that the ceremony's a month earlier than normal, but but yes, congratulations. You've been duly elected now. All right. Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
Yeah, just hopping on that train now that it's official. Congratulations to the three of you on the call. Really, really exciting stuff. Nothing to report, thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilman.
Just gratitude, and see you in December.
Councilmember Vanderpool.
Nothing to report. Everyone have a safe and fun weekend.
Thank you. Councilmember Madrone.
Nothing to report.
All right. City Manager Bernie, take us home.
The report, other than I want to echo the sentiments of a safe and restful holiday for all of you and for all of our staff. Thanks for a great year. We've got more to do to finish it up, but thank you.
Thank you. Well, not quite take us home. Take us to a closed session, which is next on our agenda. That concludes our report. So at this time, we are going to recess for just a couple minutes, and we will reconvene for a closed session pursuant to labor negotiations. No decisions will be made. We will meet for up to 60 minutes on Zoom. Council does have a separate link to get onto that Zoom session for the executive session. So please, if you haven't seen that already, check your inbox for that Zoom link. And after we meet for about 60 minutes on Zoom, council will be adjourned for tonight. So thanks, everybody.